Welcome to Motherhood from the Brain, a podcast guiding moms of preteen girls on how to navigate emotional challenges that are not addressed in school. We share real stories, expert advice, and brain-based methods for handling tough moments. Discover insights to create a deeper connection with your preteen and improve your motherhood journey. Let's tackle the uncharted territory of parenting together. Hosted by professional certified coach, Esther Babazi.
Before we begin, I want to share a brief disclaimer. I am not a psychiatrist, psychologist, or any other licensed mental health professional. On this podcast, Motherhood and the Brain, I share what has personally helped me improve my mental and emotional well-being. My hope is that by sharing my experiences, I might help even one mother out there who is struggling. Welcome back to the Motherhood and the Brain podcast, episode number 36. My name is Esther Mbabazi, and I'm the host of this podcast. With the holidays around the corner, it's a season filled with travel, family gatherings, kids reuniting with their cousins, delicious food, and all the fun and connection that make this time of the year so special. To be honest, you want to go to these gatherings, you want your kids to enjoy time with their cousins, and you'd love the feel of warmth and camaraderie. I don't know whether I said that word right. But for some moms out there, the holidays also bring up a lot of stress and anxiety, especially if you are already dreading the critical opinions that sometimes come up about how you raise your own children. If you're one of those moms who feels that unfamiliar knot in your stomach as the holidays approach, knowing your parenting choices might come under scrutiny from family members, this episode is for you. We are diving deep into why these situations feel so intense and how our evolutionary biology, learned behaviors, and the way that our human brain works all play a role in how we respond to family judgment. Today, we'll explore why our family members' opinions can sometimes hit close to home when your mind seems to brace for impact even before the holiday season begins. And most importantly, how can you regain a sense of calm and confidence? You'll learn practical ways to reframe your reactions, set the tone for the holiday experience, and feel strong and grounded in your mothering choices, no matter what other people think. So if you're feeling anxious about those family gatherings, stay tuned. This episode is about helping you approach this special time of the year with less stress and more peace of mind. So let's begin. So throughout human history, family and community were a central part of survival. Earning acceptance within one's group or tribe signaled safety and support. So criticism or rejection from family members could feel almost like a threat. While family members' opinions on parenting might not affect your physical safety today, our protective brain still interprets those critical opinions from your family members as social rejection, leading to heightened feelings of anxiety. When faced with family members' disapproval of your parenting, you might feel your role in the tribe or in the group is being questioned. Your brain thinks that you're about to be thrown out of that group, and this can increase anxiety around these sorts of interactions. Much of our behavior in family gatherings is learned over time and can become automatic. In families where certain parenting values or styles are traditional, any form of deviation can stir up judgment, causing friction. If you have repeatedly faced and solicited advice about the way you choose to raise your children, you might start bracing for this judgment long before the holidays even begin. Without even realizing it, your brain is already getting ready for those comments and opinions. This is part of an anxiety cycle. where tough interactions and constant, quote unquote, constant negative feedback makes you feel more stressed. Your protective brain reacts to perceived threats. It becomes activated in the presence of family comments that feel like an attack on your parenting. Each negative experience creates or strengthens a pathway in your brain, making you more sensitive to these types of criticisms. As a result, your brain starts to anticipate criticism, setting you on the edge. Imagine walking the same path through a field over and over. Each time you hear negative comments, it's like taking another step down that path, wearing that path deeper and deeper in the ground. Eventually, this path becomes so well worn, your brain goes there automatically. Every new piece of criticism makes the path clearer and making you more sensitive to these types of comments. Understanding these deep-seated reactions can help you take control of your own reactions. Instead of feeling trapped in a loop of anxiety, you can prepare ahead of time to reframe any critical or unsolicited comments. This is why thinking ahead of time about how you will interpret or respond to these opinions can be very effective. Practicing this thinking trains your brain to activate your thinking brain, the one that is responsible for calm decisions, making calm decisions and focusing rather than being reactive in the process or in situations. You practice ahead of time about how you will respond, what you will make things mean, because you know these people. Let us be honest. Every time you are in a gathering, you know the people who make comments. You know them. The ones who make comments that set you off the edge. You know these people. They don't come out of the air. You know them. And you know what they usually say. So practicing ahead of time before you get to them, what you will think about what they are saying, what you will do when they say certain things, practicing ahead of time will save you a lot of anxiety. Let me give an example. If your mother-in-law, it's always the mother-in-law, right? No, it is not. There are some very nice mother-in-laws. But if your mother-in-law comments on your parenting style, you might choose to remind yourself that their opinion or their comments reflect their own upbringing or their own beliefs, which is true, which is actually true. Maybe your mother-in-law thinks that she's the one who knows how children should be brought up. She thinks her way is the best way to do things. She thinks that. She totally thinks that. Or when she was your age and she was bringing up her children, maybe she faced criticism. Maybe she faced constant comments from other people who were around at that time. So she's doing this unconsciously. She's just carrying on the things that her brain picked up. She's not even aware of the damage these kind of things cause. She just thinks this is how things are done. This is how people comment. This is how people just comment on other people's lives and people just give unsolicited advice. She totally doesn't think. She thinks these things, yes, but they are unconscious for her. They are just swimming in her brain, and she just says things as they come in her head. I don't think she just wakes up and makes a plan. This helped me a lot when I was new to this kind of work. People don't wake up and they plot. Okay, when she comes, I'm going to say this. When he comes here, I'm going to say that. When she does this, people don't sit and make meetings about how they are going to do things to upset you. They don't. Their brains are just like that. They are doing things they have picked up along the way in society where they grew up in their homes. They are just perpetuating those things further. So when you think that opinions and comments reflect her own upbringing, her own beliefs about society, about how things should be done, her own thinking that her way is the best way to bring up children or whatever, when you choose to think that, notice I'm using the word choose, because we can choose our responses. We can choose. So when you choose to think that, it creates emotional distance and lessens the feeling of threat, allowing you to stay calm and feel more in control despite any quote-unquote negative commentary. Another way to handle this situation would be to let the said people, in this case mother-in-law, even your mom. I did an episode about like mothers criticizing earlier, so this time I'm choosing mother-in-law. So another way to handle this would be to let mother-in-law know that you will not be taking part or discussing or entertaining their opinions about the way you raise your kids. And when these discussions start, when she starts discussing or giving opinions, what will you do? This is the planning ahead part. You know mother-in-law is going to comment on certain things. You know that. It is not taking you by accident. It is not catching you by surprise. You know it. What are you going to do? This is very important to understand. That is why I'm asking, what are you going to do? This is very important to understand. You cannot stop her from giving her unsolicited advice. If you could, you would not be in this situation in the first place. If we cannot control mother-in-law, we can't. She's the person who likes to give commentary and unsolicited advice about how you should raise your kids. That we have established. But what are you going to do when she does that? This is where it gets interesting. You can control what you think and what you do when she says whatever she says. You have the power to choose to think, feel, and do certain things about their opinions. Mother-in-law says things and commentary and words and sentences. Yes, that is our situation, our circumstance. But we have the power to choose how to respond to the things that she's saying. This is what I touched on earlier, but I'm going a little bit deeper now. For example, one thing that you could do would be to leave the room. When she starts discussing or voicing opinions, you can calmly tell her, because remember you have been preparing before you get there. You can calmly let her know that you will not be joining in or entertaining these kinds of discussions. And when she does, because she will do, that is what she does. When she does that, you could leave the room. And this is the challenge many people face. People say things, people say what they will do when certain things are done, but they don't follow through. And this is what causes problems in people. This is what causes conflict in people inside themselves. So when mother-in-law says something, and you have made an agreement with yourself that you will leave. People don't leave. I understand why people don't leave. I understand why I have a slight understanding. I don't understand everything, but I have a slight understanding as to why people don't follow through with what they have promised to do. And one of the reasons why people don't follow through, women, especially women, why we do not follow through is because of the way we have been brought up. As women, many of us were brought up to just sit still, put a smile on our faces, and deal with whatever crazy things people do to us or people give us. We just sit still. We are supposed to behave and be kind and be nice and smile through everything. We are not supposed to rock the boat. We're just supposed to sit there and smile. That is the information that women get from movies, from advertising, from our own mothers, from our own family. Women, you're supposed to sit quietly in a corner. Sit there quietly in a corner and just put up with everything other people do to you. So because we have been raised like that, Standing up for yourself feels awful. You might even think you're doing something wrong because you are standing up for yourself. And let me be clear. By standing up for yourself, I do not mean being aggressive and yelling and like being in other people's faces. No, that is not what I mean at all. You can state your preferences, what you want, what you will tolerate or not, in a calm voice. You do not have to be in another person's face, pointing fingers and shouting and yelling. No, this is not what this is about. But it feels awful because you are going against the norm. The norm is women are supposed to keep quiet and take whatever it is that other people are giving to them. No questions. Be thankful. Like, be thankful your mother-in-law is even commenting. That is the kind of information or message that we absorb from society. So when you decide, when you're so fed up of this kind of treatment and you want to do something about it, of course it is going to feel awful. You're going to feel awful. You feel, I don't know how to say it, but you understand what I mean. For those of you who are working in corporate environments, you know what I mean. When you try to say something, when you try to stand up for what you mean or whatever it is, you try to stand up for yourself. It feels awful. It is because you are going against the grain. You are going against the norm. You are swimming upstream. You're supposed to go in one direction and you are saying, no, you're putting a stop to this, I'm going the other way. It feels awful. And the reason it feels awful is because your protective brain thinks that you are moving away from the tribe. You are like, in many homes, mother-in-laws have a lot of power in those homes. They wield a lot of power. They are viewed as pillars of knowledge and things. So when you leave, when she's making comments and you leave, or you tell her you will not be listening to any more of those comments and you leave, your brain is going to freak out because you are going the other way. The brain is trying to tell you, no, keep quiet and sit down. It is safer here. When you go out of your room, you're going to be alone out there. It is dangerous for you. You might die. You might die. Come back here, sit down and be quiet and be part of this group. That is what your brain is telling you. So prepare ahead of time for this reaction. Know that your brain will freak out. Anticipate this. It will happen. It is going to happen. But it is okay. It is not dangerous. You will not die. Have your own back. Support yourself, like we say. Support yourself. You're your biggest supporter. You will be fine. It will be awful. Yes. You will feel awful. Yes. But it will be better for you in the long run. So when your mother-in-law is voicing her opinions about the way you raise your children, you physically, for example, you could physically leave the room. And I said, you're going to feel awful. It doesn't feel great at all. And she might even get more upset because maybe she's not used to people like walking away from her. Maybe she's not used to that. Maybe she's used to people sitting there and taking whatever she says. And now you're moving away. Maybe she'll get more upset. But it is okay. The further you stand up for yourself and support yourself, the stronger emotionally you will be. You are building a skill. It's like learning to write with the left hand if you're right-handed, or vice versa. It's like when you're learning to drive a car. You can't drive a car in a day, and you know how to drive a car in a day. It takes practice. So when you start doing this kind of thing, you are practicing, you are building emotional resilience. You are learning how to support yourself, to stand up in what you believe. You are going against the tribe. You have your own brain. You want to do things your way. You want to think for yourself. So you are stepping away. It feels awful. It's not good at all. But it is not dangerous. It is not dangerous. It is even good for your mental health. Now, let me be clear. You are not stopping your mother-in-law from voicing her opinions. You're not doing that. She can continue talking, but you don't have to be there to listen. You're simply setting a boundary for what you entertain and what you don't entertain. This boundary is for you. It is to protect your space. It is to protect your mental health. This boundary is not to control your mother-in-law. No, your mother-in-law can continue with her opinions and continue talking and making opinions. She can do that. Because we know your mother-in-law is who she is. She gets to be who she is. We have established that we can neither control or change her. That we have now established. FYI, I'm creating an episode, a podcast episode about setting boundaries from a loving place. So this is like a sneak peek into that episode. A boundary is for you, to protect your space and your mental health. A boundary is not to control your mother-in-law, because we have established we can't control her. She's a grown person with her own opinions and her own thought processes and her own beliefs and all those things. She can be who she is. You just don't have to be there. You just don't want her in your space with her opinions. So this is what we are trying to create. We are trying to create a boundary for you with your mother-in-law present. So you step away and let her talk. She can continue talking all she wants, but you don't have to let that infringe on your mental health space, on your space. So you move away. You go to the next room. So you follow through. You go to the next room. It doesn't feel good. I have to emphasize this. When I was learning how to set boundaries, this is the way that I was taught. So when I was learning to set boundaries, this felt awful. Even few people, like I said, who work in the corporate environments or other places, when you want to stand up for yourself, it doesn't feel good, but it is okay. It will be good in the long run. It doesn't feel good because imagine your brain like a train on train tracks. The train is used to go this route, and now you are teaching the train to go the opposite route. Your brain is used to being in the masses, sitting in the masses. Even when you don't feel good, you are sitting in the masses, but you don't feel good. But because you just want to maintain the status quo, so you're just sitting and making yourself small and being there because you are so scared of rocking the boat, like they say. So now what you're teaching your brain is to rock the boat, is to get out of that boat and go the opposite way. Of course, the brain is going to freak out. Of course, the brain is going to have a tantrum. Of course, the brain is going to become resistant. It is natural. I think it would be even weird if the brain didn't do that, if our protective brain didn't do that. But it is doing that because it thinks it is dangerous. So you do that, leave, go to the next room or whatever it is that you can go to, and do not be around people who say things that wear you down, things that are not constructive to you. Again, a boundary is for you to protect your space, to protect your mental health. The boundary is not to control the other person. The other person can continue talking. We can't stop them from talking. They can say whatever they want. You just don't want what they say to enter your safe space. And another way to handle these holiday gatherings, if you have been doing this work for a little while longer and you are really conversant, I don't know whether conversant is the right word, but another way would be to, when she makes your comments, you'll be like, tell me more. If she thinks you're doing something wrong, if you are at that kind of level, you could let her look, interesting. Tell me more. Tell me more. You can just meet them where they are and be fascinated with what they have to say, because at the end of the day, we know it is their beliefs and upbringings. It is their beliefs and how their brains developed, how the things they picked up. That is what is making them say things like that. So it'll be like, okay, I'm interesting. I'm fascinated. So you think my children have lots of screen time? How interesting. Okay, I see what you mean. And I understand why you're saying that, if you are at that level. But if you have not reached that level and you feel scared but you want to be at the gathering, but you feel scared because of certain people, the first two ways that I said will work best for you. The first one is mother-in-law is saying whatever she's saying because of her own beliefs and her upbringing. Maybe that is how she was brought up. That is the way she knows. She thinks everybody should do things like that. And I understand. I really do. The other one would be to set a firm boundary. Just let her know that you will not be entertaining or listening to her opinions about the way you raise your children. And that will feel awful. It will do. But it's okay. That's what the brain does. And the third one would be, if you're a little bit advanced in this kind of work, would be to let her tell you more what she means by whatever it is that she means. Become fascinated. One of my teachers says that let people be wrong about you. So if she thinks that you are doing something wrong, or you're giving your children too much screen time, or you're giving them unhealthy foods, or whatever, people have different opinions on how other people should raise their children. You just let them open up. Like, okay, but okay, interesting. Yeah, I can see why you mean that. I can see why you think that. You're not taking what they are saying. You're giving back to them like, I can see why you're saying that. I understand why you think that. I really do, because when the mother-in-law was growing up, there was no screen time, there was no iPads. So you understand why she's thinking that. She's used to maybe kids doing other things, but now it is the iPads. I have two children, and one, the older one, when he was growing up, when he was like below 6, there were no iPads. It was TV, Disney, I don't know, Nick Jr. and stuff. And when I had my second child, 6 years later, there's a 6-year difference. 6 years later, iPads were all the rage. My second child rarely watched TV because iPads were all the rage. My first child was Disney and Nick Jr., like I said. So I understand, like, people come from different generations. I grew up in the 90s. I grew up in the 90s. All we did was be outside. Okay, MTV. We had MTV. But all we did was be out. So we are coming from different generations, and we look at things from when we were born. That is, like, we look at things through those lenses. So mother-in-law is looking at things through her lens of the time she was growing up, the time she was raising her family, but things are different today. So you can be genuinely interested to know what she means. It doesn't mean you are taking what she means, you're just learning to hear what she thinks. Interesting. Okay, I see. I understand why you think that. But like I said, you have to be on a little bit upper level of doing this kind of work to let that not go into your soul. Okay? Be safe, everyone. Enjoy the holidays. We have like 8 weeks to go. But I know already people are preparing. That is why I did this episode. People are preparing to travel. I have like my eyes around. I had people already dreading meeting up with family. They want to go at the same time they dread. They dread going and they want to go. So I was like, maybe I could do this episode and someone might find it helpful. Be safe, everyone. Talk to you again next week. Bye for now.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. Your time means the world to us. If you found this episode valuable, we would be immensely grateful if you could spare a moment to visit Apple Podcasts and share your thoughts through a review. Your feedback plays a vital role in helping fellow moms discover our podcast and enrich their own motherhood experiences. Take care, and bye for now.